Wow, well, so happy to meet you all, and just very excited to see you all. A couple of you I've heard from, and I hope to hear from the rest of you. I have cards here. Eugene, maybe you could pass those around. And there's an article that just came out, like yesterday, that you can take with you. So, I am Dr. Carol Bentel, but what I want to explain are all these acronyms behind my name. This means I'm an architect. This means I'm an interior designer. This means I'm an interior designer, and so does this. And the F in front of all these mean I've been elevated from, in the case of architecture, there are 100,000 architects in the country. There are 21,000 in New York, a little bit more than California. And 3% of us have been elevated to get an F, which means fellow. Same thing has happened to me with interior design in these two, and then this means I have a license in interior design. And I can't put any of these acronyms behind my name without having passed the exam. So I passed the exam in architecture, and I passed an exam in interior design. We have two other architect fellows in on our faculty. So we have some really famous, well-known people here, and they love to teach, so that's really wonderful. I want everyone to call me Carol. Don't anyone use any of those acronyms, please. And the nice thing about School of Visual Arts is that everybody's on a first-name basis. Even David, the president, who you saw this morning, we all call him David, including the students. Next, please. As was noted this morning, all of us here are professionals. I'm here at SVA, but I also have a 20-person architecture and interior design studio on Long Island, which has been around since 1957. I have been around, but not in the studio that long. Next slide. We're all professionals at SVA. You won't find that in other schools. I thought back when I went to Washington U in St. Louis. I'm from Missouri, first in college. Went to WashU. I applied to one school because I didn't know any better. And none of my teachers practiced. When I look back on it, they were teachers, they were professors, they were professing, but they weren't practicing. And it now really hits me how great our faculty is, because they're all practitioners. They're all out there with their own firms, and you're getting the latest, greatest, hottest stuff immediately into the classroom. Next, please. Which allows us to bring the most up-to-date aspects of our careers into the classroom. So this is our faculty. I love our faculty. So Jack is a fellow, and Elizabeth is a fellow. This is a famous set designer who's got all sorts of awards. And these are a lot of teachers. If you go to another school, you will be taught by maybe 5 teachers teaching 15 courses. And they're not all experts in all of those courses. It's because they're full-time teachers. These are teachers, everybody since 1947 is a part-time teacher at SVA because of the reason of the importance of being a professional and bringing that to the classroom. And I think that makes a big difference. You also will not find a student-teacher ratio like this. And this is why we know your students' names. We know you as part of our family, right? I'll walk out of the room and you can answer that one. Okay, next please. We're all artists too at SVA. You might think that interior design is not an art, but architecture and interior design are indeed an art. Back when Gropius was the director at the Bauhaus, all of the arts culminated in interior design and architecture because it was the mother of all arts. But I think we are better than all the other arts here because we're the necessary art. We're right now in an interior. You live over 90% of your time inside a building. So we are the necessary art. So I want to explain what interior design is, because when I was 17, 18, I had no clue. I'm sitting in an all-girls school in Missouri, and my parents, as I said, didn't go to college. So I'm going to explain what we do. So you get an idea, and then it turns into a real project. Now this is my project. This is the modern restaurant at the Museum of Modern Art. Now, if I can come from Missouri and end up doing this, so can you. I mean, I've had such amazing opportunities, and I think this career choice is also lucrative, and I want to talk about that as well. So you can't get to that, though, without the clients, restaurateur, because this is a restaurant. This is Denny Meyer of Shake Shack fame, and famous chef Gabrielle. And next slide. So you start out with clients and the food and concept about hospitality, and then you move into looking at the space. The space that we were asked to make the restaurant in was the original entry for the Museum of Modern Art. It was the ticket counter area. So in many ways, this is called adaptive reuse. You take an old space that's one thing and you turn it into a new space that's something else. So this is one of our drawings of that space, trying to understand this building, because our restaurant is actually in a Philip Johnson building here, and in the original MoMA, which was called the Modern back in 1939. So next slide, please. So these are some of our sketches thinking about the inside. Next slide. But if you were to be doing a project, we would give you a prompt. You're going to design a spa or an ice cream table, right? And so you start thinking and you start sketching and thinking about what you're going to do. Now the thing is, I'm not good at drawing. My husband is really good at drawing. So if we need that, but you don't have to have that to be an interior designer. You have to be good at being creative and thinking about ideas that your clients don't have. And so I just love the idea that I don't really have to do some amazing drawing. And I do always bring a pen and a roll of trace to jobs with me, and I can draw an idea. They call those napkin sketches. But it's not some great drawing, and it doesn't matter because it's the idea that matters. So then you go into 3D and you start experimenting with three-dimensional forms, and then you start to put measurements to it, and you start really thinking about, can I fit? Is this 8 feet, 10 feet? Next slide. And then you really build it according to measurements. You do a model, and you'll see a billion models around here. We have some beautiful models. And then by your senior year, you will be able to do drawings like this. This will get you a job, because anyone will hire somebody if they know how to do this, and that's called construction documents, but you have to do that in order to get it built. So this is very, very similar to architecture. The only thing you won't learn is structures or landscaping. Everything else you're going to learn here is very similar to architecture students. Okay. So again, you do all that, then you end up with the final product, which people live in and they use. And that's what's so magical about doing this kind of art. So just go back. This is also at the Modern. We designed all this furniture. We worked with Thomas DeMond for this one big mural. And this is also in that restaurant, fine dining, looking out at the sculpture garden. So I'm going to just give you one more example. I'm from St. Louis, have done a number of jobs there. We just had a job recently that was this entire floor. And I'm just going to show you, next slide, just this one corner. They wanted this corner to light up, that you could see it from this intersection and see up into the space. So I had to work really hard on this ceiling to make that work and make sure that I actually put a reflective ceiling so it reflected the chandeliers. Next slide. So this is what it looked like before it became that. Raw concrete, ducts, columns with fireproofing on them, water pipes, office windows, because this is a big office building now turned into a club that's supposed to feel a little homey. But that's normally what we start with. And I love wearing my hard hat. And I love clipping it on the back of my backpack so everyone sees it. I'm really proud of it. So now this is what that space looks like. That's what the space looks like. And so I designed some of the chairs, the lighting, the ceiling. I mean, there was nothing here. I picked out the curtains, but sometimes I design the curtains or the furniture or the rugs, just like we have here. These are rugs that our students have designed. This is a rug, actually. There it is. You see it on the floor? I designed this. and it got put into that project. Next slide. Here's another view. I work with artists all the time. That's the cool thing about being at School of Visual Arts. I've actually hired students from here to do art and get paid for it in my work, because I really believe that art shouldn't be something you do as an after thing. You should plan it ahead of time. So I plan to have, this was commissioned. It is a Clydesdale, and I know it's St. Louis and was Budweiser, but that's not why the Clydesdale is there. The Clydesdale actually saved vineyards in France by then using the Clydesdales to get the grapevines when France was having a problem, and this is a big wine club. So next slide. So if you hit it, there you go. So in order to convince the client to do this, we do animation as well. But again, as I've said to Jimmy and some of the other chairs, I said, yeah, you might design an interior, but we build it. So we get to do many similar things, but we literally build this after the fact. Yeah. Okay. So just a couple of other things that I've done. Again, it's sort of a day in the life of an interior designer. So this is the new Whitney. I did the bookstore and the restaurant. Next. This was a top restaurant in the world, Le Bernardin. Our second James Beard Award for that. This is was the greenest restaurant in New York City. This was the tallest residential tower in the Western Hemisphere. It's been surpassed, but did the amenity floor for all the residents and did the dining hall. This light was made in Prague. I got to fly to Prague and see it as it was being made. I tend to fly all over now, and Grand Hyatt at 42nd Street did everything you see here. It was a raw concrete space, worked with world-famous Juwami Plensa to be able to structurally hold these up and to light them properly. And a hotel in Dallas where I worked with all of these artists, and a program for residents, photo competition, so all the rooms had a different photo. That's interior design. And again, this was a new space, so totally raw concrete space. So everything you see here I designed, we didn't go buy it. Now, one special thing that we do is adaptive reuse, and it has my heart, because just 3 blocks away there was this 1864 carriage house that was falling down. This is what it looked like on the inside. They had ripped out a column, which you need to get the truck in. And so I was asked to make it into a restaurant. So I studied the old building, and I wanted it to feel like a carriage house again, like the horses and the buggies could still come in. So I created these glass openings with low iron glass so it doesn't have glare. You know how you go down the street and sometimes you can't really see into a shop? Or even at night, it looks closed. That's because the glass and the lighting are not done properly. So in this case, you feel like the horses could go in, and now it's a restaurant, and it's won a state preservation award, so I'm very proud of that. But what it does, it shows you that interior design can improve the neighborhood. This neighborhood is better because that building is now lovely. And because the light is coming out, you can see into it, even if you don't go eat there. I've also had the chance to renovate and do adaptive reuse in other countries. This is in Italy. This is a hay barn that literally fell down, and that's what it looks like today. This is a hay barn now with glass. With hay barn, you have to leave openings so that the hay gets air but doesn't get rain. And so this took a long time. It was done during COVID, but I would go when I could to see this and make sure it was rebuilt according to earthquake codes, and with all the new insulation and lighting. I could literally turn the lights on from here if I want. And that is me on the Vespa. So I also do architecture, and I'm only showing you this one to make a comparison. So this is a school on Long Island. This is 30,000 square feet, a new academic building, and it's underground on purpose. I competed against 4 other male architects, and everyone wanted to put the building somewhere on this campus. There's this long road getting to it, but I wanted it to be hidden because this mansion where the students go to school, is an amazing building, a little bit like going to Hogwarts. But anyway, you can only see the building from a drone, which is where we are, or from the water. Okay. And so this is me at my job site, and I do know a lot about steel and concrete. You don't really have to know that. That's more architecture. If we go to the next slide. So that's this building. I know it doesn't look underground. We had to take the dirt away to put the building in, to put the dirt back on. It's just to explain that. So as an architect, I went to school for 4 years, and then I went to graduate school for 2 years. You can get an architecture degree in 5 years. My husband and 2 children went to school not in architecture for 4 years. They had to go, depending on the graduate school, 3 or 3.5 years, so 7.5 years. In interior design, this is a terminal degree. 4 years, you're done. You don't have to go and get a graduate degree. You can and really be a master of interior design, but you don't need to, and you could go get another graduate degree, and our students are doing that generally. So graduate school is not required. So say this building costs $10 million. I get $1 million that I split up with engineers and everybody else. It took me 3 years to do that. Some of these restaurants cost $10 million. And you have to do them very fast because the restaurateur needs to make their money back on that plate of spaghetti. So 10% of construction, 1 year. So where do I make more money? Here. Where did I not need to spend 2 to 3.5 more years on tuition? Here. And you can, I checked something this morning. I was talking to David Rhodes about it. I know that 10 years out in interior design, I know interior designers, one from here, making 6 figures 10 years out. I know architects don't make that 10 years out. And you can look that up. But anyway, you can. So I'm on the New York State Board for Architecture, and I learned that, say you get your degree here, say you work for someone for 7 years, don't even go to school, work for a design company, which you probably would do. And if you work for a design company with architects in it for 5 of those years, you can sit for the architecture exam without going to school and spending another penny on tuition. You'll still have to learn structures and some landscaping to fit your building into the site. But I think that's a pretty cool thing. Now, I showed you out on the sidewalk where we are. I think this is the best building ever. And again, we're on the 11th floor, so we get views that other people don't get. Next slide. We also get to use this gallery, and this is one of our shows that we had up for a month. And we did a book about the show right here. Maybe you can pass it around. Take a look. So we published that. So those students got to have a big deal exhibit for a month in Chelsea on the sidewalk and got published. We are right here where this happy face is. All the galleries are right here. I just love Chelsea. And I think it's a really safe, wonderful spot to be in Manhattan. Okay, so what makes us special? We are in the heart of New York City. You'll be looking at schools that are in New York, but they are not in Manhattan. We are 4th in the country for job placement. We make sure you get a job. We are highly accredited. We were just accredited. Every 6 years we have to do a dog and pony show and get accredited again, but we were elevated in so many areas. Not all schools are, and this is really important because you can't, it's hard to take the test, it's hard to get your license if you don't go to an accredited school. And there are a couple of them around here and on the East Coast that are not. Our students are, we have the best faculty-student ratio. I don't know that you'll ever find that. Our students are international and national award-winning. I'll show you how many awards these students win. They're really committed, talented. 14 Dongia scholarships. When we came up the elevator, the project, I'll show you a picture of it up here as well, but we just have a winner who got $30,000 for her senior year, and they only picked 10 throughout the country. And we've had, in 18 years of this contest, we've had 14 of these. The other thing you won't find elsewhere is this. you have your own desk. And I can pretty 99% say that's true. You have your own desk here, which I know our students love, and you won't find that elsewhere. So in the last 3 years, our students have been admitted to Yale. We have 3 there now, Harvard 1, Columbia, 4 got in, 3 went, 2 at Cornell, and on. And that's not easy to do. So what's happening is they're winning all of these prizes, they're getting published, they're in galleries, their CVs are amazing. And so they can compete with other students for these great schools. And Jorge went to Yale. Jorge's our academic advisor, as well as being our pre-college teacher. Oh, these are our desks, and these are the freshman desks. These are the senior and junior desks who are a little closer to the window. Next. This is what it looked like last week and even this week. So when we walk around, you're going to have to be very careful. Do you have hard steel-toed shoes? And then we had a review last year, and there's Jorge. That's me, and we have all these furniture designers that are here looking at their work. So small classes, we bring in more professionals to come and look at the work. So we also take students out to job sites. This is actually my job site. I did a project here under the City Corps building, but we took the students out, and we have shoes and hard hats in order to do it. And I was trying to explain how this floor was made, because you go into a space and you're like, oh, that looks nice, looks so easy. No. And so it just shows you how that's done. And I think you shouldn't be just learning in the classroom. You should be out there looking at jobs. Again, we are accredited. Just remember, not all schools are. You'll have trouble with some scholarships and getting your certified interior designer license if you go to a school that is not accredited. And we do work that matters. We're not doing work just for the rich. We shouldn't be. The interior designer has a unique role. We can and should advocate for the human being in the built environment. And we do projects focused on that. So one student who just graduated from Yale, he was a Syrian refugee, he still is. So when we did our hotel project in the junior spring, he decided to do a hotel for free speech. And then COVID hit, and so he did a hotel for COVID, quarantine for 14 days. And he put everyone in little picnic areas where you could wave to one another. And so then we wrote an article about it, and 3 students got published because it was very timely, micro-living in the post-COVID world. And so he could put that on his CV. So we give you opportunities. We try very hard that your work gets published. Next slide. We did another huge show. We have these books here. And I got a call from the New York City Department of Design and Construction and asked if we would work on the jail system. And I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, if we don't do it, who would do it? But we flipped it, and rather than working on the jail system, we tried to work on things that would keep people out of jail. And we did 2 huge shows. They're well known. We have 2 publications. Next slide. We did a huge show on this. These were sophomores. And every student was represented here. Last year, we took transitional housing for a hotel to the Javits Center in May. These are 2 of the models that were shown there. The students designed 1 room, and then they stack it. It's 16 to 20. They learn how to do a hotel from scratch, because I do hotels from scratch, and that's part of an interior designer's job. You work on the room before you know what the hotel is going to be. You want to know the width of it. Our students win all sorts of awards. Here again, this is Hospitality Design Magazine. Our hotel class, first prize, then the restaurant, studio, second prize. And this is back to the Dongia competition. We've had, again, these are examples of 2 students in 2019 that won $30,000 each. We had 2 that year. They canceled it until this last year. Next slide. So when they reinstated the competition, we won again. And so this student was doing work. This is a hotel room for migrants for 2 months. That's what's happening right now. We try to do things that are current, but the important thing is Morgan could go to David Rockwell Associates and get a job, I think, very easily because she knows how to do a hotel. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's transitional. I mean, I think it's meaningful that we do that, and I think the student pours their heart into the project because we propose meaningful clients, people who need our help. In other words, that's why we need to advocate for the human being. And this is another one that's hard to believe. Metropolis Magazine started a competition recently, and in 3 years we've had 5 winners. They picked 25 interior design students from the country. We've had 5. And then last August, I went to Denver to get an award for this student, Maishi, who's now at Yale. I'm there getting her award. They picked 3 students for the best portfolio, best interior design portfolio in the country. We were the only one on the East Coast. And this is her project. It's a project about water I'll show you more about later. This I only got yesterday from a student who's in graduate school who won with her hotel project and her thesis project a very big international award. She just got this from another award group yesterday, and we're so proud of her. But the students just do so well. Now, we keep track of the awards, publications, and exhibitions. We also keep track of our faculty, but more importantly, we keep track of all the student awards, and this is on a big Miro board that we're just going to keep going forever. Next, this is just 1 year. So these were the competition winnings from our students. These are publications, exhibits, and they just keep going on. Next. So how do we do this? You get 4 full years here of education in your discipline. No general fundamentals like other schools. And I know other schools have a 1 year of fundamentals where you're still selecting what you're going to do. You jump right in. So we're going to go through this really fast. Retail, office, retail. These students know iconic furniture like nobody's business because we also have a lot of it around the department. And we also do this cardboard study. These are not this is not a museum of chairs and stools. This is truly a lab. Students know they could take any of the chairs out and sit on them all year, and some do. And then this is Morgan, who won all that money just recently. She's working on her cardboard chair in her 2nd year, and you'll see some of this currently up on the bulletin board in the other room. And then they test their bodies, they test measurements, they learn about structure for a person, because anything inside is our work. It's not just doing the walls, it's everything in this room is our work. So just go through these. A library one, a lounger, that's Fuad again, then watch, whoop, and it's also, it moves, so keep going. Now I put this in here because I don't want you to think that we're making things pretty. Everything is going to be amazing. But we try to do design that will influence human behavior. And I think that's important. I think that if you could do something to make someone feel better, to make them be able to be happier, there's so many things that we can improve from the inside, and we think about that. Now this may seem a little crazy, these 2 guys trying to live in 1 wall with only 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen, 1 bed, and 1 chair, and they push it back and forth. But I think this makes me think outside the box, like, wow, what if we could do that? And then you exercise because you have to keep climbing on this thing. So we are experimental and we're seeking new ways. We do care about the environment. Some outside areas, I would say, are interior design. Times Square is an outside, but it's an inside. It's an interior. And we bring students to sites. In the junior year, we do start learning about hospitality design. So they learn about restaurant design. And this is a restaurant one of our students did. I did do a job for Gordon Ramsay, and he's actually nice. He doesn't yell. One of his favorite things is that he cooks is a beef Wellington. So Eason took this idea and made a little cafe that's rare on the inside and crusty on the outside. And then he did we took firehouses and we measured them. and made an adaptive reuse project of this. So this was a firehouse, but Easton thought, well, it's a firehouse. I'm going to make it red. It's still for Gordon Ramsay, who he thought yelled and fiery red, and you could see flames cooking the steak. And this student brought that idea of the restaurant into her thesis project. When we do the hotel project, you start with a client or clients, such as the migrants. In this case, the student took miyake and made a foldable room. We could look at her models, which are beautiful. She ended up going to Cornell and just graduated. Another student took kusama and made a bubble room out of that. And then a student who won that $30,000, Jason, he created this room. He loved Yo-Yo Ma. He wanted the cello wood to be in the room and that music would come out of 2 walls. And then he stacked 20 of these, and then he covered it with a facade, really doing architecture. And this is frozen box suite right there. It's as if the bow just stopped. And amazing. No wonder he won so much money. So this is him in the semester before designing a wine stand and a place you could open wine and drink it. And we have a famous sommelier, Pascaline, here. She's a master sommelier that came in to crit the students. And I saw Jason just last week in Korea. He is there doing his military duty and has 1 more year at Yale. He's in architecture school. And these are all students from this program, doing very well. Lexi is from Philadelphia, loved Deborah Harry. She did her hotel room with red lipstick, leather, and the bed was where you could sit and sing. And so we did a show where we blew them all up full scale. Then she did her stacking, beautiful piece of architecture, this stacking. And so our students can sit in a room with an architect and hold their own, without question. This student, this is Tina, and she's amazing. She's won so many prizes with this. This was transitional housing. Next slide. This is a rendering a junior did. Just amazing. And this was for a single parent. If you could go back, Eugene. The parent would be here. In this case, our story was that the parent had lost their children due to being incarcerated. This is a true story. And so the idea was that you get your 2 kids back, and how are you going to let this environment change behavior, make them unite, make them love one another. And so these are the little kids' beds and their study areas, and they have climbing walls in here. And it's solar. Every student had to pick an energy, whether it was solar or water or something, because we think that's important too, and you shouldn't be doing any projects without thinking about energy. And so all these slanted rooms would have solar panels on them. So next slide. So this is a student who chose water as her energy, and she wanted you to look into her building. This is interior design school. We're doing buildings, and this student realized that you can see from outside inside. It's very important. Next slide. And so this is her hand study of how water would work in here. And she had a hydroponic farm down below, and you can see the pipes, and we went up to the roof to study what's on this roof, because few people know what water is coming into your building. And this is her final project, and she's just started Yale, and was the one I picked up the award for in Denver in August. Next slide. We do product design as well, and not everyone does that. So again, we design rugs. The students here have amazing rugs, which they make with these palms. They first do sketches, and then they do a more measured drawing, and then they pick the palms, and then 6 weeks later they get a rug. Thesis students get a big show and a party, and we get them published. This is a thesis student who's at Cornell, using discarded doors and windows for a makerspace. Next one, sustainable fashion house and restored oil tanks. You see where I'm going with this? They're caring students. They're really doing things because of problems we have with this world. A hotel and an abandoned cooling tower. Amazing. It's a learning hotel, so things are happening in the middle, but you're living around this whole thing in this hotel. We also have exciting electives. Interior photography, I'm always with that. I'm at the moment taking a picture of a new kitchen we put in. Set design, advanced digital visualization, and furniture design. This is the lab that we're in. Now this is actually a graduate lab. Only interior design gets to use this, and we're so happy about that. So we have our furniture course in the lab. We have our own labs. We have maker labs, and we make all these amazing models. And here I am with our models. They know how to make great 3D models, and you'll see that. We also have a lighting lab, so you can turn yourself any color you want, including your fabric and your models, and because lighting matters. So here I am actually fooling around with my own lighting because I do lighting, and we have a killer lighting course here. And if you get your license, you're going to have to take a lighting test, and it's a hard test, but everyone will pass it if you take art teachers. I was trying to find dappled lighting, like you're under a tree. This is Le Bernardin, that famous restaurant, and there was pizza parlor across the street, which I didn't want to see, but I did want you to know that there was an outside. So developed this screen, which has little twigs in it. It's made out of aluminum. I was trying to hide radiators that were not symmetrical. They were all over the place. And so I did that with lighting and this fabric. We just got money 2 years ago to do a textile lab. I wrote a grant for this, so we have a plant grower that we just put in, and our students, if you go to the next slide, are already designing fabric. I don't want them picking fabric. I want them designing it themselves. I mean, you could pick some, but just design it yourself. Next slide. And we got money for a sound lab. We're still working on that. Next slide. We also do extracurricular activities. So this is in Times Square. The students designed chairs, and we called it the Chairicel. And this is in the front of people's portfolios, not in the back, because it's so crazy. But they got their hands wet. They made things. This was when I first came here 6 years ago, because I felt like people weren't making things with their hands. And so there's an ice cream chair, a telephone chair, a coffee cup chair. They're all rather funny, but again, they learned a lot. And after that, the chairs went elsewhere. They had more than one life. Same thing with some mannequins that we've been doing in the set design course. Taught by this famous set designer. His book is right here. And so they were doing dresses for a mannequin from skyscrapers in the city. So this is the Citicorp building, the building with the 45-degree angle turned upside down. It was such a hit. So they started out on Madison Avenue, because that's where fashion is. Rock Center got a hold of this and said, could we have them? So they were there for a year. Citicorp heard about it. They've been there for 2 years. So these students now have a hefty resume with all these iconic places with their work in them. So next. And this is actually my job that I was showing the students with all this lighting and those trees, but those are still there. I mean, you should go there. It'd be fun for you to see them. We also do things for people who need the help. DFA, an organization for AIDS awareness, has been taking up other needy causes, and they asked us to work on homelessness. So we worked on a homeless tricycle that you could bring your home with you, and these are the students that we had an internal competition here, won the prize to do that, and they met all these other designers at this, and 4 schools are asked to participate in this from New York. We're the only one who gets published. So here's one where this was a more positive take on homelessness, where you could, like a retired person or a nomad, get in your balloon of some junk and fly anywhere you want and land anywhere you want. No one's kicking you off the sidewalk. That was the only school published in Interior Design magazine. We have a lecture course called Inside the Box, and we try to look at things that you wouldn't see at school. So we were looking at performance for one semester, an interior designer and architect dancers. We've got all the students up on the stage, because maybe you've never been on a stage. Maybe you go to a firm, they say, well, I want you to design a green room, or something like that, and you've never experienced that. So we try to really broaden the experience of our students. Same thing, we went to Steinway Hall. We wanted to learn about acoustics. Had a Juilliard pianist playing for us and an acoustician here in the audience who stood up and told us where the sound was going. And we have a summer optional program to Venice, Florence, and Lucca. We have two of our teachers here. And in this case, I'm also participating in Lucca. And you get 3 credits. It's art history credit, which you need. And except for your ticket, it doesn't cost more than taking 3 credits during the summer here. So might as well go there. And 2023, first time ever, we had a show at the Venice Biennale. So in Palazzo Bembo, right on the Grand Canal, the Rialto Bridge is right here. These are 12 of those beautiful models. They're banners. We have tons of those banners out here for you to see. And they got published in this book. So once again, and they picked Tina's project. I sent them 12 projects. All their names are here. They could only do one spread. And famous architects, this is an architecture show every 2 years. And we're going in May again with more student projects. And I'm hoping to keep that up every 2 years. And we just started a running club. This is hot off the press. You're in it, Jackson, right? Anyone else? This is so, I'm so proud of them. So, just to repeat, Heart of New York City. Professional teachers. We're accredited, student-teacher ratios, unheard of. You get your own desk, we study real sites, we visit real construction sites, and we'll get you a job. And I don't think anyone's winning the competitions we're winning. And we do furniture, product, and set design are part of your education. I'm very reachable. My card's there. If you email me, I will email back. And I just want to show you some related careers that our students are going into. Architecture, maybe a third. Sustainability, environmental design. Urban design, product design. We have 2 students that went on to that. One recently in furniture. Historic preservation, adaptive reuse. A lot of students are going to Columbia right now doing that. We have one in California doing set design, and one considering real estate. So, and one actually doing textile design. So you can go on and do something else, or you can go on and do the same thing. But we seem to be getting students into great places in order to do that. And so I think that's it. Just a couple of things here. We have a lot of authors among the faculty. This is a typical material box where students are asked to get materials. So say you're comparing, I'm going to go to fine arts and paint. You have colors, you have canvases, gesso. These are our paint colors. We get to know properties of wood. This is something where the light actually travels through it. We get to know all about wood and paint, and we have stone and material and glass and on and on and on. And I think that's it. So. So now I'd like to invite our 3 students up here, and maybe you come up here. Yeah, front and center. Okay. All right. So maybe I'll let you each introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
I'm Emmy. I'm a junior. I'm like a junior. I'm from Norway. I came here 3 years ago, 2.5. Just like haven't been really had good experience with school, and this is the best experience I had. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Lizette. I'm a sophomore, and I'm from New Jersey, so I'm like really close to home, and I just love living in the city, and yeah, this is the best experience. So.
I'm Jackson from New Jersey also. We're all family here, and I couldn't have asked for a better school experience for sure.
Okay, so what do you like best?
I think personally, just having the it's so personal. You have like all the professors are very close to you. You get the experience that it's not just like a school. It's a place where you feel safe. And I feel like we're a family. We're so small. It's like a community. I feel very safe here. And it's like, it's fun to be here. It's, yeah.
I'm going to add something. We all just marched right in. You can't do that normally. You have to show your badge. So no one can come in here unless they've had 48 hours ahead of time being invited in as a guest. So your student is very safe here. And our floor is open 24/7. And again, very safe.
I do love having my own desk here. I think that really does help me personally because it is open 24/7, the studio, so I do have like all the time in the world to get my work done. And it's a real big like community space here, so everybody like in my row particularly you'll be able to see that we are all very close and we all like kind of have a fun time like decorating our space but also getting work done at the same time, so we like have that balance, you know.
I definitely like the way we do projects and the process we take to complete them. I think there's a lot of similarities. It's just like what you would be doing in a professional world. We go to a site, we look at a building, we go in, we measure everything, we create it in 3D, you know, and then we reimagine it in a way that, you know, it's a lot like community development, things that like using design to make like a difference. So that's something that kind of really changed my perspective of what architecture and design could do.
Can you explain what you're doing right now?
Yeah.
And what you measured?
Yeah, so you might have heard Carol mention adaptive reuse in her presentation. And right now we're looking at this super cool church in Harlem. It's really curvy and a regular space. And we're gonna turn that into a restaurant. So we went there, we did a tour of the space, we spent the last few weeks 3D modeling it, we had to measure everything, go through super old plans and sections and all that, and now we're just kind of developing like our concept and making a bunch of different ideas for a restaurant that could go in there, and more than just a restaurant, something that's like a community space and that benefits the surrounding area. So it's a fun project.
Okay, now you're allowed to say something you don't like. I want to be fair.
I'm trying. I don't know.
Something that, you know, can be hard is it's not easy going here. I went to Temple for 2 years and I did architecture there, and you don't get any direction. You have to think for yourself, and like I've been to my past school experience where you do what the teacher tells you and you get an A or whatever. Here it's not like that, you know. We're here 12 hours a day sometimes. It's like a real job, you know, and we gotta put, you know, our whole life and energy into these projects. So I feel like it's cool and it's kind of fun and exciting, but it's, you know, it's hard. So it's not easy.
It's a passion. I mean, you all know, I mean, I've got 2 jobs, I guess I've admitted to that, but it's a passion, this field. Well, you're in the field too. You just do it because you love it and you know it's worthwhile. So, what would you tell a 17-year-old high school student?
Advice. I think be patient. It's, as Jackson said, it's definitely hard work. We are here all the time, but it's so worth it. I feel like, I didn't even know what I would want to study or if I wanted to. And then I think just like the experience is so worth it. But yeah, I guess be patient is, yeah.
Personally, I think that the biggest thing I want to tell myself would be like, work on your time management, honestly, because it is a lot of work, as we've said, and you do have to spend a lot of time here. So I think that, you know, blocking out spaces of time for you to enjoy yourself and then also get your work done is like very important, having that balance.
Jackson, tell everyone to join the running.
Oh yeah, join running club too. Was the question. what I tell.
What advice would you give high school students in thinking about this discipline or just?
Yeah, I think one is trusting yourself and your own capability, and also like don't let the major interior design narrow what you think you can do. You know, in this world, as we saw like at the end of the presentation, there's so many more. There's infinite different directions you can go with, you know, an education like this. And I think you got to really keep your mind open to the different possibilities, like where you can go and what you can do with a degree in interior design.
I think also the thing here is we learn so much more. It's not just like interior design. We learn graphic design and all the programs. So you're actually having a lot of options when you're done. It's like I can become a graphic designer if I want, or a product designer, or like, yeah, anything. It's not narrow. So, yeah.
As I said, we had 2 students last year go into product design. One is across the street now in our products of design, and one is at another school in doing product design. One more question, but I wanted to focus on what you turned in for a portfolio. Because unlike other schools, you don't have to turn in anything that looks architectural or like interior design here. It's just good work. And so you don't have to do that. I mean, I know we have a pre-college program where the students are doing 3D work that will probably go in their portfolios. But you don't have to do that at SVA. It's simple, and I would also say put your best work first. Don't put your freshman high school work first, put that last. Put your best work first. So maybe you could talk about what you might have put in your portfolio.
I have my chair, but I think now this year I feel so more motivated. So my projects are becoming nicer. So I actually haven't really, I wouldn't say proud, but like the project I've done before, I wasn't super like passionate about it. So
What did you put in your high school?
Oh, high school. Oh, to get in here. Just drawings, sketches. I've actually, yeah, I did some design. I did a bathroom when I was 18, 19. And I put that in. And I guess, yeah.
For me personally, I loved drawing and painting and all of that. So I did take a lot of like art-focused classes in high school. So that's mainly what my portfolio was. A lot of paintings, not that much of like rendering. Like Carol was saying, I did not really have that background. So coming here, it was a very big like world opening, like very like extremely eye-opening, I guess. So yeah, that was mainly like sketching and then painting.
I think I had like some geometric kind of studies, like just like geometric kind of drawings and 3D models that didn't really, you know, it wasn't architecture, it wasn't, you know, it was just kind of 3D forms and sketches and stuff. And I think I had like some, it was kind of like, what would I say? Kind of like a restorative justice sort of project with, I think it was like a garden, or like community garden or something. I think I had that, but other than that, it wasn't really anything architectural. It was a lot of like drawings and stuff, geometry.
Be creative. And do you have any questions for these students?
Did any of you participate in any of the pre-college programs before you came here?
I did not, no.
We have some pre-college students here right now. Do you have any questions for them? All right, so what we were going to do is take a tour, and I'm going to let you 3 lead it. Eugene, where is he? There he is.
Yeah.
Will help with the lighting lab.
Yeah.
But I think if you go this way to the lighting lab, then through the studios, and then back around, that would be great. And I'll be around with the group, and you can ask me questions as well. So, any other questions?
Is there like a minimum of some things that you have to submit for your portfolio?
I don't know the exact answer.
Okay. I think it's like 8 to 10.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right, and it's not the common app. SVA has their own application. Because you were here today, your fee gets waived, and it's rather simple. And there's some writing that you have to do, and these however many images are there. Yeah, but and we go through everything very, very carefully. It comes to me after admissions looks at it. So 15? Okay. This is Abby from Madrid. So we have exchange students with us. We have a very worldly group here. I would say 60% from all over the world and the rest from the United States. And I think that's such a plus, that your student, or as students, you're with people from all over the world, and you learn a lot from each other, right? That's pretty cool. I think, well, you're from Norway. Yeah, there you go. All right, well, I'm going to let...
Did you have a question?
Oh, another one, yes.
I hope I didn't miss this, but for people that are not necessarily wanting to live in an urban environment for their after school, how do you see this field and success in a smaller town?
You mean is a student coming from a smaller town, how would they feel
No, once
here?
they're finished, like career-wise, job-wise. Do you
Oh.
think that the urban environment is necessary to be successful?
No. I mean, there are a lot of jobs here in New York. Many of them are commercial hospitality kind of projects, but residential design is still out there, and we all have a residence, and that really rose during the pandemic. And I know a couple of people, one person in New Jersey. Did you work? Yes. And I got a job.
Yes, she got me an internship last summer at, I don't know if you know Franklin Lakes in New Jersey. They have a little firm there that was mainly residential, but they did do other things. And it was very eye-opening experience again. This really let me into the world of interior design, because I was a freshman, so I didn't have a lot of the site visits in my I guess background yet. So I was able to sort of see how exactly they work, and how the relationship is with the contractors and then the interior designer, and then the how that all is sort of an ecosystem. So I think that there is a world of possibilities for anyone outside of the city, and I think that is very, very helpful here specifically.
And I can't say we can promise to get a freshman a job, but Lisette is amazing. And her boss was a former student from another school that I taught at years and years ago. So that was, I guess, a good response to that. But again, you need us. Not you, but people need us. And so they can't just all be in the big cities. And I think that it's a lucrative, enjoyable. I learn something new every day because I'm not doing the same thing. I don't have the same client over. I have repeat clients, but it's another new project. So it's a lot of fun and hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Yep.
Besides the art classes, what are do you take English, math, that are in the freshman year? What is that?
There's no math. There are 2 English. That also differentiates architecture from. I mean, I have to tell you a funny story. When I was your age, I filled out a career survey as a 17-year-old in my all-girl school, and I got the survey back, and it told me I should be a florist or an accountant because I did like math. And I'm like, I don't want to do either one of those things. So I turned it over, and it told me I should be an architect on the male side. Let's hope they don't do that anymore. And I didn't know what an architect was. And so admittedly, it was a Catholic school, so the nuns and I ran to the library and looked up what architecture was. And there was only one school in Missouri, and that's why I only applied to one school. But no math. And we did take one of our really fun courses, sustainability, and turned it into a science credit to give you more ability to get other electives like jewelry making and painting, and printmaking is very popular among our students. And so we just did a big change with the curriculum last year to give the students more openings so they could, because this is a world famous art school, so then they could pick these other electives, and that's what's been happening. So freshman year, you take a 6-hour drawing course with Jorge, going around the city drawing. It's a lot of fun. You always have a design studio. So you will have 8 design teachers. And I mean, Jack has been around here 12 years, Elizabeth 18. They're all seasoned and very caring teachers. And so you'll always have a design class. You will have 5 semesters of computer. And I think that's why our students are also winning prizes, because one, they can make amazing models, but you have to know Rhino in order to do the model. But you'll start out with the Adobe Suite. You will then go to AutoCAD. If you're doing residential architecture, interior design, you need AutoCAD. Then you will go into Rhino. You take that. 4th semester, nothing. And if there are any transfer students in here, we did that and pushed the next 2 courses up into the junior year, so that because transfer students wouldn't have these 2. One is Revit, which big companies use. You have to have, you couldn't get a job in my firm without Revit. And that's going to be the industry standard. So we do that in the junior year, and I can tell you not all schools have that. And then we just introduced a rendering course to really bring it home. And so these students, by the time they go to their senior year, they've had 5 computer courses and they know what they're doing. So that probably has some math in it, but we found the pre-college students, the reason we did that, the pre-college students came in, were already doing 3D drawings. We're like, what's going on here? We do have a hand drawing perspective course and color theory in the freshman year, but then we jump in because that's what the industry is doing. And they were doing SketchUp. They were blowing it out of the water in pre-college. They were doing so many beautiful things already. Like they're already thinking in 3D. So.
How many students are accepted into the interior design program, and are most of the courses with that cohort, or are you taking courses with others?
Well, your your electives are with everybody in the whole college. That's why we wanted to open it up more. Because we're accredited, we have to stick to some things very strictly, like you must take 8 of these courses and all that. But I felt it was too stringent, so we opened it up by moving things like the sustainability course was a studio, and I thought, if I move that into humanities science, then someone could go take some fun course, elsewhere. So we did that with 2 of our courses. Even the lighting became a science, and I think that will be great for the students coming in. Trying to think of the number of students. We have desks for 20 in each class. And if they're good, I'll go talk to David Rhodes. So, but we keep our class sizes. Most of our class sizes are like 10, and they're small. And you learn better with small class sizes. And again, that's why all the teachers know the students, not just by their name, they know them well, right? Everybody knows Jorge. Any other questions? Okay, so off we go on a tour.